We need to punish her. We need to tell her no, she's a spoiled brat. We get all these comments. She is spoiled.
What do you think of when you hear the word spoiled? Welcome to Mommy Breakdown. Today we will be visiting the Channon Rose Vlog channel. The episode is called Addressing Snow's Tantrums and How We Discipline Her. If you're new here, I'm Kristen. I'm an educator and mom of two myself, and I specialize in working with children with behavioral challenges, or really just toddlers, teenagers, and everything in between. So let's grab our beverages and dive in.
We are having literally the hardest day with snow ever. And I know I always get comments like, we're not like being good parents and we don't know how to tell her no and all these different things. But like, we do tell her no. We do punish her. We just don't show that on camera.
The discipline discussion has begun, and the first thing that we learn is that right now it is a hard day. We get it. Some days are hard no matter what you do. But there was a word that stuck out to me that she said when she was rebutting this whole idea of, well, I say no to my kid, I just do it off camera. She said the word punishment. And I think it's important for us to talk about the difference between punishment and consequences. Punishment is something that follows an undesired behavior that's intended to make the child feel bad, while a consequence is intended to teach. So let's break this down. A punishment could be having a child hold a sign outside on the corner of the road of, I pushed my brother over. You've seen it on social media. It's pretty horrific. The intent of the action is to make the kid feel bad. Like, you did something, so I'm going to make you feel bad about it. As opposed to a consequence, which ideally would be connected to whatever the behavior is. So child throws the toy gets removed. The toy being removed teaches the lesson that if you can't care for this toy, then you can't hold that toy. And let's practice together so that you can be successful with holding and playing with this toy appropriately. It makes me think of my 6-year-old when he was learning how to use Nerf guns, right? Pointing it at people's faces is not ideal. Let's keep going.
But we're having a really hard day. She's about to go on her first swim lesson at home. Yes, we're gonna go swimming. Look, you got your swim suit on and we're gonna go swimming. We got your sunscreen on. Okay, let's go downstairs. Your swim teacher is gonna be here. Come on, let's go.
Something that mom did right here was small but really effective, so I wanted to point it out. Her daughter began to whine, as they do, and instead of focusing on the whine, she redirected the attention elsewhere by stating, oh, you're in your swimsuit and you have sunscreen on and we're gonna go do our swim lessons. Something I might add is let your child, this is good for verbal development too, let your child start to answer the rest of the sentence. Think of it like a fill in the blank. You have your swimsuit on, you have your sunscreen on, and now we're going to... And then sometimes their brain is just so occupied on trying to fill in your sentence, depending on their development, of course, that it'll just snap them right out of that whine.
Her swim instructor's still not here, but she's very excited for the pool and she is putting her sunscreen on herself after I already put it on her face. Let me see your face. Wow, you did a good job, Snow. Anyway, she's having a rough day. The whole like, we need to punish her, we need to tell her no, she's a spoiled brat. We get all these comments, which...
Talking about your child in front of your child is not a healthy behavior. And I am guilty of it as well, especially when our kids are super young. They're like potatoes. They're little tiny blobs and they can't really take in the information. So we talk about them as if they're not there. But then they get to this age where Snow is old enough to hear words like brat and spoiled, but she doesn't hear the context. So I would avoid talking to a partner, somebody on the phone, with friends, unless you're talking about a behavior that you want to reinforce and repeat. If your child's working on something like sharing, you might be on the phone with your mom and say, oh yeah, we were at the library today and Snow had this really cool toy and I thought that she was gonna hold on to that toy because it was such a cool toy. And then this little kid next to her asked her for it and she handed it to her. Can you believe that? And don't look at your kid. And you have to be careful not to make it too exaggerated that it's obvious. But when they're little, you can do things like that to repeat behaviors. Remember, what you focus on, you repeat.
The whole like, we need to punish her, we need to tell her no, she's a spoiled brat. We get all these comments, which she is spoiled. I'll admit that. She, you know, we want our kids to have a good life. We want to make them happy, but we also want them to have manners and not be brats. So we're working on it, trust me.
What do you think of when you hear the word spoiled? For me, spoiled does not mean having a nice house, having toys, getting hugs and kisses from mommy, and lots of snuggles when you get boo-boos. Spoiled to me means that you say something as a parent and then you don't follow through and you give in. That to me is the negative connotation of spoiled.
How we punish our kids, we always, this is the thing about being online and having a lot of people, like, I don't know, critique you, is that, you know, if we do one thing, we're awful parents. If we do the other thing, we're still awful parents. It's like, it doesn't really matter.
Dad has joined us and we are circling back to this whole idea that you are damned if you do, damned if you don't. And that's not just limited to people on the internet. We have that in our own lives too. There's always a tia or a grandpa or a cousin or a co-worker or a neighbor that has some kind of opinion on how you should raise your child. Even within your own intimate relationship, the parents of that child, you might disagree. I was parented this way. You were parented that way. It's a lot of discussion, communication, and compromise. I feel for them and I encourage all of us to filter any kind of information as just what it is, information. You can either take it or you can leave it.
If we, when Snow throws a tantrum on camera, if we were like, go to your room, you're on a timeout, or we like give her a spanking or whatever, like, because that's what some people want to see us do. You know, they're like, oh, we don't discipline her, we don't punish her, we don't tell her no, she's a spoiled brat, blah, blah, blah. So if we did those things, then we would have the opposite. We would have all the people being like, you're abusing your kids, you're horrible parents, I can't believe that you do that to her, you need to talk to her, you know, like, right?
Yeah, they're losing me a little bit with this because disciplining does not mean yelling at your child and hitting your child. And yes, if you did that on camera, I'm sure that people would criticize it because it's really unkind and unnecessary. That's like the key word, because there will be people who come to my channel when we talk about corporal punishment. There's been many Super Nanny videos where we've talked about that and they go, oh, that kid just needs a belt. That kid just needs this. Well, you know what? You can modify their behavior with a belt, absolutely, but you've taught them nothing. So if the child is struggling with patience, the skill of patience, where they constantly interrupt or they don't wait their turn, hitting them doesn't teach them the skill of patience. But let me not go off too much on a tangent. What I would encourage mom and dad to do, and anyone else who feels this sense of, I don't know what to do, so I just resort to yelling and hitting, is looking at some techniques that are very effective without ever lifting a finger or raising your voice. You do not need to yell to get your child to listen. If you're interested in that kind of stuff, please subscribe and also comment any specific questions. Let's keep watching.
Can you come inside for a little bit?
No.
No?
No, I can't.
Can you say no thank you?
No, thank you.
Do you want to stay in the water?
It's Mama.
Round of applause. That was so beautiful. Let's break it down. Mom asked her, do you want to go inside? And then when Snow responded in saying that she doesn't want to go inside, she respected that response because it was indeed a question, and we'll come back to that. And then on top of that, she taught her how to respond appropriately. Be careful as a caregiver. Sometimes we find ourselves in positions where we're at the park, we're tired, we've been there for 3 hours, like enough already. And we go, do you want to leave? And then the kid goes, no. It's like, well, we're leaving. Then don't ask. So instead you say, do you want to leave in 3 minutes or 5 minutes? And then the child goes 5 minutes, and then it's a win because you wanted to leave in 5 minutes anyway. This was just lovely. Only ask questions when you truly want the answer, and then teach your child how to respond appropriately. Yes, that was so good.
Come on, let's go. Baby, mommy's back is hurting, okay? I can't pick you up. Snow, honey, listen.
I skipped quite a bit, but I did link it in the description below if you're interested. Right now, mom and dad are in the backyard with the 2 kids. They're trying to figure out the logistics of where they're going to plant these seeds. And unfortunately, this one right here is starting to whine again. It's escalating, so mom plays the guessing game. Do you want to go down the slide? Do you want some water? She says, yes, I'll have some water. They go inside and she whines to be picked up. Mom says no, and then she whines louder, and then mom picks her up. And I think we all know, and I'm sure mom knows this too, that that's probably not a good idea, because you just taught your child that if they want something, they just have to whine a little bit louder for it. So just be careful with that.
I was just saying that we read stuff all the time, or I do, and it's always, you know, everything that you read, there's something the opposite of what it is. And then if you talk to people, every person will tell you what worked for them, and it's all different. What this worked for somebody and that worked for somebody. And
yes, mom. Yes, dad. I am with you. We are with you. And I think if we can all focus on the end goal of raising children who have the qualities that you're looking for. So for me, I want a child one day who's going to be able to self-regulate with their emotions. They're going to be able to resolve conflict. They're going to be able to be in an uncomfortable situation and be patient. And then I just keep going through those skills one at a time. Your little 2-year-old is not going to know everything in one day. Neither will your 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old. Every day, every week, every month, every year is a new opportunity to keep increasing on those skills. If we stay that course, then as you implement techniques, whether it's something you heard on this video or it's something you read in a book or online or from a friend, you try it out and then you go, did that support my end goal? And I think that will give a lot of peace on whether you're doing the right thing for your child's temperament, and your environment. I really enjoyed this. Thanks for joining me today, and I will see you next time. Bye.